What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Neverlag. I'm one of your hosts, Levi, joined as always by the man who fell into the pit, Zach. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good, Levi. How are you?
I'm swell. I'm just swell. Yeah, I actually just wrapped up a third episode of Loki. I don't know. I don't think you've gotten into that. I've been trying to
I
brush up on some of this Disney Marvel nonsense that's going around.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. That's my challenge. I've seen the first one or two episodes of Loki. I actually liked what I was seeing,
Oh,
but
that's right. That's right. You did
I've
say the first two.
yeah, I've struggled to keep up with a lot of the Marvel stuff. Because I'm better than everyone. No, it's it's just been hard to keep up with a lot of different media. So it's on my list. I've heard Moon Knight is pretty good. Loki, I've definitely heard good things about. So yeah, what do you think about it so far?
Yeah. The first three episodes have been actually really interesting. I'm surprised how much I liked it because I'm not really big into the Thor movies to begin with. Um, but this has been so completely different than what I expected it to be, and all three episodes so far have been like complete bangers. So I'm enjoying it so far. We'll see if they can keep the same energy through the entire season. So, and as you
That
see
Owen
here,
that Owen
I
Wilson
found
energy.
yes, I found a bulb. Wow, cameras are hard. Angles are hard. I found a bulb for my lava lamp, but forgot to turn it on early enough, so it's just it's not hot enough. But speaking of things that aren't hot enough, this is This Week in Gaming, the show where we bring you the news, the reviews, and the hot takes from the past week in video games. So if you're all about it, you can support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/neverlag, or of course right here by doing what you're doing, watching on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcasts from. So let's get into it and talk games. How many stories do we have this week?
We have 11 stories. Some of them are larger than others. So I think we'll breeze through a few, and then we got a couple meatier things to get
It's
through.
not the size of the
Um,
story that matters, Zach.
that's right. It's
It's the
the
motion of the
girth.
story.
I mean the motion.
Okay.
I always mess that up.
This is why we can't
um,
have nice things.
our first story, our first two stories are going to be review roundups. We got a couple of new games. I know it feels like we're done for the year, right? We've tapped out. All video games have been
It does
released
feel that way.
based on some of the recent news with delays and whatnot, but that's actually not 100% true. We have some smaller releases. Our first review roundup is for Salt and Sacrifice, which is the sequel game to Salt and Sanctuary, which came out, I don't know, four or 5 years ago. And it's, maybe you can describe it. You've actually played it. I have not. It looks kind of interesting. Maybe give us a brief
Yeah.
overview of Salt and Sanctuary and what that game is like.
Salt and Sanctuary is truly the most 2D Souls-like game I think that has been made. I mean, a lot of comparisons are made to like Hollow Knight or games like that, but quite literally, Salt and Sanctuary is even the theming and the vibe is all very Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's 2D. You create your character. There's different kind of archetypes you can put your stats into as you level, strength, dexterity, the whole shebang. And other than that, it's a very interconnected world, similar to what FromSoft do, but in a 2D setting that feels much more Metroidvania. Lots of bosses. It was pretty good. I enjoyed my time with it. It was a solid game.
Nice. It's on my list. I like the vibe. I've really been enjoying Metroidvanias the past year and a half, ever since I kind of kicked it off with Hollow Knight. So this is on my list, and we have the sequel that just came out. I forget exactly what it came out within the past week. Salt and Sacrifice is the second one, and so this one looks like it's doing okay. And on OpenCritic, it's sitting at a 76. Metacritic sitting at a 71. Got a couple of reviews to highlight. Mitchell Saltzman from IGN gives Salt and Sacrifice a 7 out of 10. And he says Salt and Sacrifice is an ambitious sequel that attempts to integrate Monster Hunter mechanics into an already crowded Metroidvania / Souls-like formula. It's not a great mix, but the strength of its core combat, customization, and refreshing co-op still makes it worth at least a look. We also have a review from Game Informer by John Carson, who also gave it a 7 out of 10, and says, I want to like Salt and Sacrifice, and in some stretches I do. I enjoyed exploring the world, concepts of hunting and crafting, and the moody atmosphere, which kept me continuing for dozens of hours. But its clunky progression systems and many maddening enemy encounters quickly make the fun times easy to forget. And finally, we have Hirun Cryer from Eurogamer, who gave it no recommendation. And says Salt and Sacrifice is a riff on what came before, but not an entirely successful one. A tense, fraught combat system with gallons of customization options carries Ska Studios' sequel, and boss fights are entertaining, if overly tough at times. But the storytelling and narrative designs of Salt and Sanctuary can't hold up their end of the bargain. So, a little bit of a mixed bag, it sounds like, at least from critical reviewers, which is, to always take that with a grain of salt. But what do you think? Having enjoyed the first one, how are you feeling about Salt and Sacrifice?
um, I'm I don't know. I'm kind of off this one. It's a bummer. I was kind of just counting this as, of course, I'll inevitably play the sequel to Salt and Sanctuary because it was a very respectable, solid 2D Souls like, as we just talked about. But every review I've seen and the ones you read here, kind of pointing to the odd inspiration from Monster Hunter that
Mm-hmm.
feels kind of like a clumsy addition into something that's already combining a few different things into a game and did so successfully already. Um, I don't know. Yeah, the Monster Hunter thing seems to have not clicked. Essentially, it sounds like there's encounters or creatures that you will quite literally hunt through the world, and they will continually flee or whatever, and you'll have to find them and also deal with the enemies around in the area that are just
Mm-hmm.
naturally there. And it just sounds awful to me. It sounds not enjoyable. I like that very traditional. You come to a boss room, there's a boss, you fight the boss over and over, right? I like that. I've never been a huge fan of Monster Hunter. I enjoyed Monster Hunter World for a while. Um, I've gotten some enjoyment out of the franchise, but overall, I don't enjoy the concept of what do they call them? The expeditions or something, where you track down a
Yeah.
creature and then spend, depending on how powerful you are, you could spend upwards of 20, 30 minutes chasing and fighting this creature, which is cool. It's unlike anything in any other game, but it just feels out of place here. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
it really turns me off to this game. I'm not really sure that I'm even going to check this out now because I would have rather, man, I wish they would have just made a legitimate sequel to Salt and Sanctuary. But that's easy to say after the fact, right? It's
Yeah.
innovation is you like teams to kind of try new things and innovate, and the inherent nature of that is it doesn't always hit, and it seems
Yeah.
like that's the case here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've that's kind of my thinking is that I'm glad they're trying something new. I think we want more developers to be willing to take these types of risks, but those risks inherently mean that you're going to strike out more often. So for me, this doesn't sound as interesting. I kind of enjoyed Monster Hunter World for a while, but it's not my go-to game, and so kind of hearing the mixed reception, it's probably not something I'm going to be picking up. I may still try the first one, but if that does sound interesting to you, it is a little bit different, and yeah, check it out. Let's go ahead and move on to another review roundup for a different game, a game called We Were Here Forever, which is a game of my experience in the Taco Bell drive-through this past week. Just kidding, but Taco Bell needs to figure out their drive-through wait times. So We Were Here Forever is kind of a strange game. It looks like it's uh, a co-op puzzle game, maybe a little bit akin to like It Takes Two. And it's yeah, you're solving puzzles, and I think there's probably some narrative around this. I don't know a whole lot about it, but thought it looked really fascinating. And it's sitting at a 73 on OpenCritic, 76 on Metacritic. So also a bit of a mixed bag. We have Mitchell Saltzman from IGN again. This is his second feature in our episode today. So Mitchell gave it an 8 out of 10 and said, if you've got a like-minded friend who loves puzzles and escape rooms as much as you do, We Were Here Forever is a very special game with a 12-hour co-op campaign full of some of the most clever puzzles around. And then we have Adam Ryan from Well Played, who gave it a 6.5 out of 10. And he says, "We Were Here Forever is a fun, cooperative puzzling experience that unfortunately outstays its welcome with a bloated runtime and an infuriating amount of backtracking." So there's a couple of reviews. Levi, I know you're pretty big on puzzle games. We both liked It Takes Two, but what are your thoughts about We Were Here Forever?
This one, I just, I pretty recently found out about this one. I think I did see gameplay of it a while back, maybe a couple months ago, but I had forgotten about it. Um, but after watching some info about it, I think it looks pretty cool. I really like the art style. It reminds me of a little bit of Deep Rock Galactic, um, which is just a
Mm-hmm.
very simple, enjoyable, like pleasant to look at art style, in my opinion. And I'm really enjoying the. I don't know if you can even call it a renaissance because I don't know that we've had too many games like this. We're kind of seeing. It feels like the birth of a new genre where these two-player couch co-op games, like I know there's always been couch co-op games, but like specifically where you're working together.
Yeah.
I don't know that those have ever really been done very well until recently with things like It Takes Two. Um, there aren't too many other examples. Operation Tango I haven't played, but I hear is a similar thing where you and
Mm-hmm.
you and a partner have to work together. And I dig it. I dig the It Takes Two is fantastic. I love um, the cooperative side of these games, and from what it sounds like they did a good job with this one. So I think I'll be adding it to my my game queue, and I'll check it out at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully the puzzles. They even say the puzzles sound good. So yeah, I'm a little bit excited about this one.
Yeah, the fact that the puzzles themselves are good is a good sign for this type of game. So yeah, I might add it to the backlog. It's not a priority for me, but it looks interesting. Like you said, kind of Deep Rock Galactic esque, little bit of Bioshock vibes with some of the artwork I've seen, or some of the atmosphere or settings. So looks interesting. So check that out. All right, moving on to our third story. This is kind of our maybe one of the bigger stories of this week, and that is that PlayStation has revealed their PlayStation Plus games list. So a month or two ago, they announced the new tiers of their PlayStation Plus service, which are what are they? Essential, Extra, and Premium. I believe are the three tiers. We'll put a picture up. So if I'm wrong,
It sounds right.
look at the picture. But I believe those are the three tiers, and some of those tiers have a catalog associated with them. I believe that's the extra and premium tiers. Um, I'll go ahead and go through some of the catalog, a few highlights from the catalog. We'll put a picture up on the screen with the lists as we talk through it, and then maybe you can talk about some of the ones that you maybe think are interesting, and we can react to how we feel this is as far as a catalog for a subscription service. So first up, they have a catalog of PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 titles, and this is available with PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium plans. So the two higher tier plans allow access to these titles. And some of the ones that look really good to me: Bloodborne, Days Gone, Death Stranding, Director's Cut, the PS5 Demon Souls. We got Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, some PS4 titles like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Marvel's Spider-Man, as well as Miles Morales, Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4. So quite a few good titles there. And then some of the third-party PS4 and I think these are mostly PS4 titles, but we've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Batman Arkham Knight, um, Dead Cells. I played that during the pandemic. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Red Dead Redemption 2. So a decent list here. What do you think so far out of the PS4 and PS5 catalog that they have?
I think it's better than expected, honestly. Yeah, mildly impressive. I think most people
Mm-hmm.
weren't expecting much, and I don't know that this. Once again, we keep bringing this up. For us personally, I think we've played most of these games that we care to get to, or even own
Yeah.
them. So this really isn't for us. I don't need a subscription to play these games. All the ones I care about, I have under my TV. So
Mhm.
doesn't really do it for me. But like if you're someone who um, doesn't have access to a PC or Xbox and doesn't have access to Game Pass right now, or just got a PlayStation and maybe haven't played a bunch of these games, like this is fantastic value that you can jump in here
Yeah.
for $20 a month or less, right? 17 or something. How much is the extra? I can't remember, but
Yeah.
I think the most expensive one is 17 something. So
I believe you're right.
to be able to pay, even for a month or two and get all these games, and I mean these are what's interesting here about their first party studio games
Hmm.
is, to me it seems like it's pretty much everything like that isn't less than a year old. If it came
Yeah.
out in the last year, it's not on here. But
Right.
even close, like Returnal's on here.
Yeah.
um,
That's
so
barely over a
basically
year.
everything from Returnal backwards is here. I don't
Yeah.
see any notable exceptions. There might be one or two, but kind of makes me wonder if that is what we're going to see for this service going forward. Are we going to see
Hmm.
a 1 year cadence where after a game has been out for a year, it'll be interesting to see in the next couple months if Rift Apart makes its way onto the service, and then we'll kind of know, right? Because Rift Apart came
Yeah.
out in June last year. Um, that could be interesting because if that's something that is a pattern that they do, that gives people an option to be like, yeah, maybe you're irritated with Horizon Forbidden West, and you're just like, oh, you know what? I'll catch these games a year from now on the service.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I think we've all been kind of waiting to see what Sony's plan is for their cadence of like, okay, they want to release things on the PS5. How
Hmm.
long are they going to wait for PC? How long are they going to wait for their subscription? Are they going to stagger everything? This almost feels like a clue into that. So that's intriguing to me. Yeah, all the goods are here for their first party. From the third party, I got to call out Ashen again. I know I've done that in the past. That is an excellent um, From Software Souls like game with a really really neat kind of watercolor, almost paper. I don't know if paper mache is the right word, but it has a very interesting art style. We can throw up some video of it. I really enjoyed it visually. It feels good. The gameplay is great. It's not too long. I think it's around 12 to 15 hours, and it's just a very enjoyable Souls like game. In fact, I think if you haven't played a Souls like game, Ashen is a really good entry point. It's not terribly hardcore, and it's not too long. So, yeah, check out Ashen. I'm a little bit curious about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that it's going to be on the service, because that's one where ever since Origins, I've been into the series, and my interest has been waning with
Hmm.
every release since Origins. But I have yet to jump into Valhalla and keep eyeballing sales and waiting for the right time. So maybe I'll do it on the service here. Control Ultimate Edition is a fantastic game.
Yeah.
That's a great addition if you haven't played that. Hollow Knight, it's funny. Hollow Knight is an incredible game to have on your list, but the fact that Hollow Knight is so stinking cheap kind of takes away any like weight from that, because like literally just go
Yeah.
buy Hollow Knight for $15. Like, what are you doing if you can't spare $15 for Hollow Knight? Um, is there anything else on here? Red Dead Redemption 2 is great. I'd
Hmm.
love to see a PS5 version of that. The fact that it's still stuck at 30 FPS is frustrating. That's about it. But yeah, it's a good list. I mean, this is an extensive list of games.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's better than I expected. It's better than a lot of people expected. I think
Yeah.
it might very well move a not insignificant chunk of people from the base tier to the extra tier.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see, like I said, their cadence of when Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart will make it onto the service. Give us a little bit of
Hmm.
clue into that, and then I'm also curious to see their cadence as far as, do they take games off of this list? Are they going to
Yeah.
remove? Are they going to remove Death Stranding at some point? Like, are games going to cycle, or is this going to be a building list?
Right.
But yeah,
I
not
would
bad.
have to imagine the first party titles are not going to cycle. Like I don't see the incentive there,
Yeah, you would think.
unless, to go back to Taco Bell, they're going to do the Taco Bell menu thing where they say, "Hey, here's the best beefy rice burrito you ever had. We're going to take it away for a while." So maybe they will. I don't know, but it seems like it's not in their best interest to do that with first party titles. Third
The
party
fact
titles,
that
I'm not really.
everything is here,
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that pretty much everything is here from first party makes me
Hmm.
think that they're not intending to do that, because
Right.
you would think if they plan to cycle stuff, they would leave some off to bring in
Right.
over the next 3 to 6 months, right? So
With third party titles, I'm not sure if there's like licensing that has to happen. You think about like Netflix where they're licensing content all the time for for periods of time. I'm not really sure what the setup looks like. So I guess time will tell. But yeah, I'm also interested in like, are we going to get a Rift Apart added to the list within the next month or two when it's been a year? I think that will be a really strong signal. So I'm curious, are they going to be updating this every month? Is it like a rolling update to the service, or is it something where they revisit it once a year? Not really sure exactly how they're going to do that, but it's a pretty solid list. And then, of course, we have going into the classic games catalog. Um, Classic games are available with the premium plan, which is the highest tier, and the premium plan is $18 a month. It's cheaper if you pay for it yearly, but $18 a month, and this includes some PlayStation One and PSP titles, with some examples being Ape Escape, Hot Shots Golf. Um, a few titles I'm not as familiar with. Some third party ones like Tekken 2, Worms World Party, Worms Armageddon. Um, they also have some PS4 remasters on this list, such as Jack 2 and Jack 3, as well, and the original Jack and Daxter. So those are some that I actually paid for a PlayStation Now uh, subscription for a couple of months, like a year or two ago, just to play the Jack and Daxter games. So there's some interesting things there. And then, of course, they have the PS3 list of titles in the catalog. But of course, these are available via streaming because of the difference in hardware architecture between the PS3 and uh, all the other PlayStations ever. So there's a list of titles there you can look at. I think people are less interested in PS3 simply because of the uh, the streaming kind of makes it a less good experience. But some of the key things in PS3 for me are Ratchet and Clank, Quest for Booty, Crack in Time, Into the Nexus. Yeah. So any thoughts on kind of the classic games catalog that's also available for premium subscribers?
yeah, my thoughts on this are, this is where to me it just gets really lackluster. Let's see, going down the list, PS4 remasters. I guess maybe there's not like a ton of those. That list seems short, but maybe that's all of them. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't
Third
either.
party partners, pretty slim there. PS3, again, we could go on about how they need to figure their crap out with the PS3. Like, I just don't understand how a company with the resources of Sony, whose
Mm-hmm.
business is video games, can't figure out how to get the PS3 games playing on a PS5. But the list also feels not terribly extensive, pretty short. I mean, even looking at the Ratchet and Clank games, which is a personal favorite of ours, where is Tools of Destruction? Like
Yeah, I don't know.
that was the launch Ratchet and Clank game for the PS3. I remember going into GameStop, whatever year that was, and being blown away by how great Tools of Destruction looked. And for some reason, they have the other three. Um, Actually, I think they are missing the All for One, but no one really cares about that one. But it's just odd. I just don't understand. It feels weirdly limited, and I just feel like in the same way that they brought out the PS4 and PS5 games, where you look at that list and you're like, oh man, this is legit. I would have expected them to really go a little bit harder on some of these classic games, and I don't see any. We don't have anything about. There's no PS2 games, right?
I don't see any in this catalog, which is interesting
Yeah, I just
because
don't
there's some really great
understand.
PS2 games.
Yeah, I don't. This to me is bad. Like, this is very lackluster. I don't think it's much of a reason to subscribe to that premium tier, in my opinion. I think this is kind of a swing and a miss, and I don't understand why we don't have triple or even like 5 times the amount of games here from these old systems.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree. The classic catalogs is lackluster, which is kind of funny because that is supposed to be something that bridges you from a $14.99 a month extra PS Plus extra subscriber to a $17.99 a month PS Plus premium subscriber. It's a mouthful trying to talk about all these different
Yeah, it
tiers,
kind of goes
but
back to what we mentioned earlier, where it just feels to me like they're really reaching for 3 tiers, and this much more easily could have been 2 tiers, and they're just trying their darndest to make each tier feel like it has worth, and that third tier is just struggling. Like these classic games are not enough, and in demos, like I don't know. It we'll see how they as they continue to iterate and kind of flesh out what each tier looks like, and maybe you know these are such iterative processes. Seldom do companies come out with something like this and it's just polished from day one. But we'll see if they can get this feeling a little bit more worthwhile a year after launch here. Well, this is happening in June, right? So, but yeah, for as of right now, premium I don't know if you're one out there who's really psyched about premium. I feel like you're in the minority. I don't think they're doing a lot to win people over here.
yeah. Yeah, it seems like they've made a good case for the middle tier extra. So getting people from, what is it, 10 bucks a month to $15 a month. But maybe they kind of realize it in the fact that it's only $3 to get to that final tier. They realize it's a little bit of a weaker offering. I'm curious to see if they'll be able to bolster that over time, whether that's adding PS2 title support. That seems like an obvious thing. PS3, I think, is going to be trickier. You mentioned, like, why can't they just get that together? I actually found an article on IGN from a month ago that talks about this. I'll link it in the notes, but it primarily has to do with the PS3 had a really interesting processor setup that allowed them to harness the central power processing element more efficiently and offload complex code to the extra cores they had available. But essentially, like the technical setup of this meant that the PlayStation 3 was reading and writing in 128 byte like cache lines, whereas the other PlayStations, including the PS5, are reading and writing in 64 byte blocks. And so there's this technical incompatibility that they have to like solve for. So there's actual like
Yeah,
code headache. Like I think it's
I
doable,
hear
but
you, but I can run PS3 games on my PC, so
yeah,
figure it out. Like,
I
get
mean,
it emulating, even if you have to emulate it. Like, let's get this rolling. What are we doing?
emulating,
I
I
don't know.
think, is the one thing that they should really look into. But I
Yeah,
think it just comes down to I'm not sure how worth it is to them. And I honestly, even
it's
if
not.
they get a
It's
bunch of PS3 games available, how many people are going to jump to this higher tier? I'm not sure it's going to be that many. So I think there's probably like a
I think the
uh,
irritation is
simple
that, as
reason there.
always, it's one of those things where it's like if you handed the reins off to the internet, this would be done in a weekend. Like it's like when games can't fix their bugs or whatever, and modders will fix things over the course of a weekend. And you're like, okay, this was months that you let this happen. So, anyways, I agree.
It's
I don't think they have enough incentive, but
right.
they're trying to justify this premium tier. So I'm gonna pick on them.
Well, I think that's the real thing is like find something else to just actually what I think they should do is kill the premium tier. Have a $10 and a $15 plan. And honestly, if they take this additional value of some streaming for PS3 games, maybe some PS2 games, PS1 games, whatever, bundle that also into the $15 tier. That's a pretty robust list. And you know, I might consider bumping up to that list for that. Well, so
Yeah, it
we'll
would
have to
make me
see.
consider it as well, but
Yeah.
as it stands, it doesn't. So
And it's less complicated. Like I still get confused trying to remember which tier is what, but yeah, there we go. Now we have visibility into what this subscription service looks like. A little better than we maybe expected a month ago, but not without its faults. Let's go ahead and move on to our fourth story. The Witcher 3 next gen versions have been given a target release date of fourth quarter of this year. This is notable to me because a month or so ago, CD Projekt Red announced that the third party developer that they had hired to help do this remaster or this remaster of The Witcher 3, they were letting them go and bringing it in house. And so my immediate assumption, I think a lot of people's assumption was that okay, this is going to push it out. They have a lot going on internally. There's no way this gets done on time. I still wonder a little bit, but on Twitter, I think it was just today. The Witcher's official Twitter account said, "Let's make the 7th anniversary of The Witcher 3 even better." we're delighted to share that the next gen version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is planned to release in Q4 2022. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure I fully believe it, but that's exciting. What do you think?
That's the question, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. We
They
can
could they
trust CD
couldn't put a
Project Red. When have they
they
let
could
us
say
down?
they can say Q4, but they can't put a date on it, and it's just like
Mm-hmm.
when you're within 6 to 8 months of the end of a window and you can't put a date on it, but you can put a quarter on it. It's like kind of feels sketchy. So it's good to see that they feel that they're near. Like you said, there was some turmoil going on, but I do remember someone from CD Projekt Red came out because everyone was like, "Oh, it's been delayed indefinitely. Like, who knows
Yeah.
when we'll ever get this?" And he came out and was like, kind of bucking against that and being like, "No, we're fine. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this out pretty soon." And it seems like that might be the case. But like you said, I'll believe it when I see it. That's my stance on every like legitimately. How close to a release date do you have to be personally before you actually take it seriously? Like, do you have a general window?
I feel like 3 months starts to feel
Yeah.
pretty
So what I was gonna
concrete for
say,
me.
if we're 3 months out from the date and it hasn't moved, I'll start to take you seriously. What is
Yeah.
this now? Q4. I mean, we could be talking December. So, what is that? Maybe 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
I easily could see this slipping into the first half of 2023. So
Me
we'll
as
see.
well.
I'm glad to hear that they're moving along with it though.
Same. I'm excited for it overall because I'd like to play The Witcher again. I never finished it, but I played a good chunk of it back when it came out on PS4. So I'm looking forward to this. I kind of wish they would wait and like I wish we could have this on an Unreal Engine 5, which I don't imagine it will be if it's coming out along the timeline they're saying.
Well, they're
But
not they're not going that far under the hood, are they? This is just kind of a touch up. I
yeah,
thought.
I'm just saying I wish if we were going to get it again. That's what I would like to see.
You wish that
Um,
they would spend 2 more years recreating it in a new engine
yeah, I mean, if they were more
or
capable,
longer.
if they yeah, if they were more capable, maybe. Um, yeah, I agree with you. I'm skeptical of it coming out this year, especially because they're bringing it in house. They have to take on that work, and they
Yeah, and we talked
notoriously
recently about how much they have going on.
yeah, and they're notoriously not great at that from what we've seen. So, but there you have it. Witcher 3. I guess keep an eye out for Q4 of this year. Um, a fifth story is sort of tangentially related in that developer Techland, which I believe did Dying Light and Dying Light 2, they're developing a AAA open world fantasy action RPG with former CD Projekt Red staff members, which is has me interested. So, Dying Light, I played a little bit of the first Dying Light, and it was interesting. The parkour mechanics were cool. The open world was pretty impressive. I've heard some similar things about the second one. I think those games definitely aren't perfect, and I think they had some trade offs, but they seem to know how to make some interesting open worlds with unique mechanics. So the thought of an open world fantasy action RPG from the same developer already has me kind of interested. And then the fact that they're working with former CD Projekt Red people also has me interested because a lot of the CD Projekt's developers are really good. They've made some really great stuff over the years. So the fantasy RPG team staff includes um, Carolina Stachira. I'm probably going to get these names all wrong, so I apologize to everybody, all the Polish folks whose names I'm butchering. Um, Carolina was narrative director, or she's the narrative director, and she previously worked with CD Projekt Red on The Witcher 2 as well as The Witcher 3. Um, I'm not even going to try it. I'll put these on the screen as well. We have another guy who is a narrative lead, who also worked on Witcher 3. And then we have a handful of other people who worked on titles ranging from Witcher 3 to Cyberpunk to Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. We have someone who worked on Horizon Zero Dawn and the Frozen Wilds. So seems like a pretty solid team of narrative writers at the very least. And based on what we've seen from Techland with their open worlds and some of the parkour elements in Dying Light, this just has me really curious and kind of excited to see what they put together. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
Not too many. This is such a ambiguous concept at this point in time. Like, we've been talking about how a game comes out with a trailer and a release date, and you can't even like take it seriously. So this is just like so far, like what, 5 years away, probably. I mean,
Probably.
3 years away from seeing anything, two at least. So, um, yeah, it sounds like there's some cool talent going into this, and I can't wait till 2025 when we hear about it.
Best year is
Unless it gets canned.
2025. Is 2025 the best year in gaming?
Is it the best year in gaming? Tune in to NeverQuest next week.
Tune in where we're going to ask this question about every
We're going
year
to skip 23 and 24 and go straight to 25.
until time
Speculate
immemorial.
hard. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to our sixth story, which is Ubisoft has announced some release windows for a few different games, including Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Mario plus Rabbids 2, Sparks of Hope, and there's one other game, Skull and Bones, which I don't know and actually don't know anything about that game, but 3 different Ubisoft titles. These are going to be, they're on track to release during its current fiscal year, is what their one of their chief finance people has said. Their fiscal year ends March 31st of 2023. So this doesn't necessarily mean they're all or any of them will come out this year, but it sounds like they're relatively confident they'll come out by the end of the first quarter of next year. And so this comes from their company earnings call. So it sounds like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope were previously confirmed for calendar year of 2022. We'll believe it when we see it. And Skull and Bones was supposed to be within the first quarter of next year. So kind of interesting. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I thought this was interesting mostly because, I mean, Rabbids 2, I believe, for sure. But Avatar, we talked about this, how you like put it on your one of your most anticipated games or whatever. And I was like, I'm not even sure I believe this will ever actually be a video game. Like, it was one of those where you watch the trailer and you're like, I'm not sure this will ever actually exist. And we've heard such little about it.
A correction, this wasn't on my most anticipated. It was on like my radar. So we've had a few iterations of our list. This was like a general radar of things I'm mildly interested in. I think that's an important distinction. That this isn't. This isn't at the top of my list.
Yeah. But you could have told me that Avatar was planning for 2024, and I would have believed you. Like, I'm shocked that this assumedly or hypothetically can come out within the next 9 months. And again, what are windows and dates? Like, this may come out late 2023 or 2024 still. Like, that's possible. But
from
the fact that this is apparently
from a marketing standpoint, I think this one makes more sense though, because
that's true.
Avatar 2, The Way of Water, which is James Cameron's sequel to the movie that came out like 15 years ago. It comes out in December of this year. So it makes sense to try and line those up because they're probably going to sell more copies. Like, honestly, I'm not sure how well an Avatar game is going to do in the first place. If it's paired with a movie launch, it might do better. It's funny to me that we're getting this much new Avatar stuff in general. Like, Avatar is such a callback to being a teenager for me.
Oh, don't even say that. It feels like it wasn't that long ago, but anyways, I feel like Avatar is underrated. I feel like for some reason it became a meme, and I don't know why. Like, it was a really good movie and pretty hyped for the sequel. And the problem, as is always with video game adaptations, is how much of this is strictly just to capitalize on marketing, which seems like most of the reason, and how much of this is you actually put people in place to make a good game. If you make a like a bona fide good video game in the Avatar universe, that could be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of trepidation about that. So, but like I said, the fact that this is apparently a video game that they could tangibly see releasing in the next 9 months is very surprising to me. And then the other one is Skull and Bones, which apparently I'm surprised you haven't heard of it, but that one, I don't know if I can look it up quick enough. Skull and Bones was announced years ago, and honestly, I thought that it was just never going to come out. I thought it was basically a canceled game. I think everyone did. And so the fact that it's actually apparently going to release is very shocking to
Yeah.
me. So, and I've heard not great things. People have apparently seen some gameplay recently and said it's very lackluster and essentially feels like Assassin's Creed if you stripped everything out of the game other than riding around on a ship. And it's like,
Mm,
well, what's the point of that game? So, yeah, just interesting that game is still going to make it. I mean, games that have
yeah.
been in development as long as Skull and Bones usually never see the light of day. So, that'll be
Well,
interesting.
who knows? I'm curious to see if these actually release within that timetable, and if so, how they're received. None of these are super high on my list,
Yeah.
but interesting to see how it goes. All right, let's move on to our seventh story. This is a rumor that the Last of Us remake is targeting holiday 2022 launch. I'm skeptical of this. Um, so, according to Jeff Grubb, who's editor at GamesBeat, The Last of Us remake is reportedly targeting a launch date of holiday 2022. He mentioned this in a podcast with Kind of Funny Games, actually. And uh, uh, let's see. Yeah, I think that's basically what the rumor is. But
That was pretty much it.
from a fairly reputable source, right?
Yeah.
So this one is interesting to me, and I'm curious to get your take because first of all, I really loved the first Last of Us game. It was one of my favorite games of the generation. Um, I don't know how I feel about a full on remake this soon. Like, I guess it came out in 2013, so it's within about a decade. I don't know. It just feels like a weird game to be spending their time on right now. Um, and the fact that they're pushing to get
Well,
this out
didn't
holiday
this?
this year, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, didn't this? There was talk. I don't know how official any of this was, but there was essentially talk that what is it? Bend Studios, who worked on Days Gone, um, they were essentially looking for a project after Days Gone 2 got canceled or never got the green light, and literally they had a studio just kind of like looking for something to do, and they were like, okay, let's do a Last of Us remake because that won't take too long in development, it'll make a bunch of money. And I think that's literally where this came from.
Hmm.
So it's just weird. It's just a weird concept to think that Sony has a studio lying around
The,
like, our project got canceled, we don't have anything yet, what should we do? Like they
yeah.
need people to be working on something, and this is the project they came out with. As far as how soon it
Yeah.
is, I didn't play the original. um, I hear that it holds up very well, and I know that visually it doesn't look too dated yet. But I also know that the difference between Last of Us One and Last of Us
Mhm.
Two visually is pretty large gap. So if they truly are remaking the first one to look like Last of Us Two, I think that will be welcomed. I think it will sell phenomenally well, and I also think that Sony is just really going hard on um, TV shows and movies, as we're starting to see. And I
Yeah.
think they're looking at what The Witcher did for a very old game, right? When The Witcher series launched on Netflix, The Witcher 3, which was, I don't know how many years old when that happened. Witcher 3 came out
It
in,
was at least a couple of
do you have
years
any
old.
idea?
Yeah.
It
Witcher
was
3
at,
came out
I think it
in
was
20, I
5.
think it's 2015 or 2016. I don't remember
So
exactly,
it was
but
like 5 years old or something.
let's
And
see.
Witcher 3 said,
Witcher came out in I think 2019, the first season, or was it 2020? So yeah, it was probably 4 to 5 years.
about
So
five
long
years.
enough. Yeah.
So I mean, a 5-year old video game saw just a huge boost in sales. I mean, Witcher 3 was like one of the most played games on Steam for a minute there. It was ridiculous. And so I think Sony are looking at what happened there, and they're like, if we brush up and put out a brand new version of Last of Us 1 to coincide with the series that they're doing, the TV series, I think they just like the
Yeah.
sound of that. Even if it's staggered, they'll sell a bunch at launch, and then when the series comes out, they'll sell a bunch more. And I think
I think
it's
that's
just all
probably
it's all
true.
about that money. So, and I think people will eat it up. I think it's been long enough. There's a lot of talk about, oh, it hasn't been enough. We got a PS4 remaster. We're one generation removed. But if
Yeah.
you look at Last of Us 2 and Last of Us 1, like there's a big
There's a
difference.
difference. It's more the remaster is what I was thinking, is like the remaster does upgrade it a bit, but I think with the TV show coming, I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. Is that they're looking at a portfolio strategy of media beyond just video games, and this, like, not only will they sell a bunch of games because the show's out, having a new game that gets people excited might get more people to watch the show as well, just generally creating awareness. So I actually think you're absolutely right about why they're doing this, but it feels kind of interesting. But yeah, so I guess we'll see if it actually hits a holiday of this year. um I don't know if that's, that
It's
might be
going to
something
push
I'd
God of
play.
War out of the spot.
Yeah, I don't know if this is welcome as this would be. I don't know if this could really
It's not
replace
on the
God of
same level.
War.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
I think there's been some speculation of, will God of War make it this year? I'm still not convinced, but I think if God of War doesn't make it and this does, I don't necessarily think this makes up enough for that, but I guess we'll see. Our eighth story is another remake. This is just a quick update. Dead Space is also getting a remake, and it is scheduled to arrive January 27th, 2023. This one has a specific date, like 8 months out, which is always a good sign, I think. Um, but yeah, EA is releasing this. It'll be on, all the new consoles. The original Dead Space came out in 2008, so this one's been a while. I actually played some of this back in the day, and it was pretty terrifying when I played it. I was much younger though, so I'm kind of excited to see how this one feels remade. I think this is one that could be really interesting to see with really high fidelity, uh, you know, next gen graphics. Not sure how the gameplay will feel from what it was in 2008. I'm not exactly sure how they're approaching that. But any thoughts on Dead Space?
I didn't have too many thoughts, no, but I'm currently looking at, apparently there was some gameplay released not too long ago. And I'm looking at it right now. It looks really good.
Mhm.
I honestly know nothing about this franchise. Like, what is the premise? It's kind of a horror.
Yeah,
Is it
so
just a
there
creepy space alien type situation?
it's kind of like space zombies. So essentially, there's a distress call from this mining space station that you are sent to investigate, and there was a whole crew on the space station. They send distress call. You get there, and it's the aftermath of some horrific atrocity. Everyone that you see is dead, and it's all dark and dingy, and it becomes a horror survival sci-fi game where you're going through the space station, fighting these terrifying alien zombified creatures and people, trying to uncover the mystery of what happened on the space station. So,
Yeah, so I honestly, going into this story, I would have said I couldn't care less because I knew nothing about it. I'm looking at the gameplay now. I'm actually pretty intrigued by this. It's giving me third person Prey vibes.
mhm,
Um, I don't know. I don't know if you played any of Prey,
a little
but
bit.
I mean, if it doesn't get too freaky, I'm down for some very suspenseful sci-fi space stuff going on. I love the tense
Yeah.
um, scariness of exploring a space station where things have gone horribly awry. So maybe I'm quite excited for this all of a sudden.
Well, I'm glad I included it because it left an impression with me back when I played it in 2008, 2009. It was very tense, very scary. It was a really good mix of sci-fi and horror. Like, it felt like it married the two things very well. It was a bit intense and graphic, but we'll see. I'm older and more jaded. Maybe it won't be quite as terrifying as it once was, but um, making use of new technology and hardware, it should look pretty good.
And so when is this aiming to come out?
January 27th,
January
2023.
27th. Okay, so it'll be out some maybe summer 2023.
I don't know. They
Okay.
gave it a specific date, 8 months out. Remember we talked about that's a good sign.
We'll see in October.
We'll see. Yeah. Next year, man, the best year
The
in
best
video
year in video
games.
games, 2025 or 2023. I mean,
Um, all right, let's move on to our ninth story. This is another sequel. This is not a date, though. This is just a mild update. But Jedi Fallen Order, um, reportedly is going. The title for the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order reportedly will be Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This was also teased by Jeff Grubb, um, at some industry chat where someone guessed that it would be called Survivor, and he said, "You nailed it. That's what it's going to be called." Star Wars Jedi Survivor will be next gen only, so PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, which is good to hear. But it says it's definitely not coming out until next year, which also makes sense. So um, we don't have an exact date. They're kind of targeting next year, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor, that is a title. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good title too. It's I don't know, as much as a title can garner
Yeah.
interest, I think it's very fitting for um, the time period for this is it's after the Order 66, and so
Mhm.
this is between episode 3 and 4,
Yeah, somewhere in there
presume,
because it's after
something
Order
like that.
66. The
So
Jedi are exiled.
so
Darth
we're gonna
Vader is
watch what
Darth Vader.
Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader are doing here in just a week or two, and then sometime next year we'll get to find out what Cal is up to somewhere else in the universe, hiding.
Yeah.
Um, I'm interested in this. Will it come out in 2023? That's the question. Who knows? But we now know more about this game than we know about the Breath of the Wild sequel, which we still don't know the title of. So kudos to them on that.
Yeah, I mean, Breath of the Wild 2, we've got a little bit of video footage. I don't think we've got any video of Jedi
That's
Survivor yet.
fair. That's fair.
So, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. So, got
Picture's worth
got a lot
not
more.
having a title.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's exciting. I am looking forward to it. I know Jedi Fallen Order didn't click with me 100%, but I'm excited. I liked it well enough, and I'm excited to see the next one.
If it's a note for note sequel of the first one, I really won't be that interested. If they're able to markedly improve on a lot of the design concepts and
Yeah.
take what was good but really tighten up combat and movement and some other things, and this is able to really show off graphically on the next gen only, that's good to hear. I could certainly be excited for this, so we'll see.
Yeah. Cool. And then our last two items are quick updates. First, Fall Guys is going free to play on June 21st. So this is going to be available on PS5, Switch, Xbox, Epic Game Store. And yeah, they say no matter where you're going to be playing this, except for Steam, apparently it's pulled off of Steam. But everywhere else you'd be playing this, you'll be able to play Fall Guys for free with crossplay. Um, and
Pretty sure Epic
yeah,
bought them.
yeah. Did they?
Yeah, I think
That
Epic
makes
bought
sense.
them last year.
Okay, that makes sense as to why they're on Epic and removing from Steam. And then it looks like there's going to be some next gen updates for PS5. So yeah, I don't remember Fall Guys costing. I know they had like a free,
Well,
they
it
had
was
a monetary system, but it was free otherwise, right?
no, it was on PS Plus when it
That's
launched.
what it was.
So
That's
most
what it
everyone
was.
on PlayStation got it for free. And I think at some point it went on to Game Pass. It's been free at several points throughout its
Hmm.
lifetime. So I don't know how many people ever paid for Fall Guys, but it seems like it's doing good. Epic really was into it. So they went ahead and purchased them and thought they could make a tangential Fortnite out of Fall Guys. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I haven't been back to it. I love Fall
it was
Guys.
fun.
I'd be super down if this was like uh, a renaissance, to borrow my word from earlier, for Fall Guys, and the whole world went back to playing Fall Guys for a month, because that August in 2020, that was a pretty fun month when the whole world was playing Fall Guys. I was into it.
Fall Guys month was fun. I agree. It's a good game. So this is good news. Like you said, it's been free a couple of times, so it kind of doesn't feel like news that it's free again. But I guess
Yeah.
it makes sense that this game's free to play. So
It's surprising it took this long. This makes perfect sense for a free to play game, especially with Epic owning them and having the Fortnite model already. Like, this is exactly that same game. So
totally cool. Where our last story is also related to Epic and free games. So Epic is giving away Borderlands 3 right now. You can go get it. So it sounds like this is going until May 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So you've got about a week to go pick up Borderlands 3 free on Epic. I actually should go do that.
yeah,
So
yeah. And if you're not checking Epic every week, you should be like, um, they haven't been giving away the best of games for a while, but it seems like what was it, May? I don't know why, but right now it seems that they're kind of going a little bit harder on the free games.
mhm.
And every once in a while they do that. They'll do a few weeks in a row of like actual legitimate AAA games that they give away. Last week they gave away Prey on PC, so I picked that up. Now own that
Oh,
on
nice.
PC.
Man,
Borderlands
I
3
wish I had
this week.
checked. Dang it.
Yeah, I should have reminded you, but I got busy and forgot. But
It is
yeah,
your
it's a
job
good thing to
know
check
that.
every week. I know. So Borderlands 3 right now, I mean, a lot of complaints people had about that game, but all in all, I mean,
For
it's a good
free.
fun time. It's a
Yeah.
good fun time, yeah. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I mean, we'll be here next week if it's anything good, but every Thursday, I believe, is when this refreshes, and we don't know what the next game will be. It's a surprise.
Yep. Exciting.
So keep your
All
eyes
right.
peeled.
Well, yep. And that brings us to the end of our stories in This Week in Gaming. Is there anything else you got,
Exciting.
Levi?
Exciting. No, that's everything. And I misspoke earlier. That was plenty hot. That was plenty hot. What a hot week of news we had there. Yeah, that'll wrap it up. So if you stuck with us, thank you for doing so. And remember, you can find us over on Patreon at patreon.com/Neverlag. And we look forward to seeing you next time here at Neverlag.